In Chapel Hill, call for change after 3 people were killed in a crash involving a train over this past weekend. The Tennessee Highway Patrol says the victims, family members who were 22, 26, 29 years old, were driving on Depot Street when their car was hit. News 2's Stephanie Langston spoke to those in the area and a city leader who says it's a known trouble spot.
Yeah, Mark, there's not a lot of options on this stretch of Depot Street where the crash occurred. There's an overpass that crosses the railroad tracks, and there's an underpass. Both routes are one way, making it a dangerous area for drivers.
And there's no red light or nothing there at all.
Brett Stallcup lives down the street, so this is an area he drives regularly. He says most locals know the drill. Honk and proceed with caution, whether you're going under the tracks or over.
When you come through on the underpass, pretty much both sides have to honk because one way you can't even see if there's a car coming. So several times, someone's got to back up.
Going over the tracks, you can see it's a narrow, steep incline marked with railroad crossing and stop signs, but residents say that's not enough.
There's a stop sign at the bottom and the top, but once you get up there, there's no rails, nothing that closes that even tells you that a train's coming unless you hear their horn.
City leaders say it's a trouble spot that's been talked about for years.
In light of things like this, the questions are starting to be asked again.
Town Administrator Danny Bingham says they've considered straightening the road, installing a light signal, or putting in crossing gates as options before.
It comes down to budgets and some things along that line, getting cooperation not only from locals, residents in the area, but also working with roads, crews, as well as CSX.
A CSX employee telling News 2 the responsibility falls onto the road authority, which would be the city in this case.
It's one of those things where I think it's a joint effort that has to go in place. However, it's an ongoing investigation. There's limited what I can say.
While assuring the community they will take a closer look to make it a safer street.
It's tragic that a loss of life has to bring something like this to light, and we'll after the complete investigation is done, we'll sit down and say, okay, what are our options here?
Now, officials with CSX actually just emailed me a few minutes ago saying the consideration of crossing gates would actually be the responsibility of the state. The Chapel Hill Town Administrator says, as you can imagine, this triple fatal crash has been heartbreaking for their community, especially first responders and the engineer. He says the car that was hit traveled about 7/10 of a mile. THP says all 3 of those passengers were wearing seatbelts. A GoFundMe account has been started for the victim's family. We'll have more on that part of the story coming up on News 2 at 6.